Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. It's the long weekend once again here when we record.
The long weekend here in our comfortable basement studios.
Yeah, to be fair, it's been a weekend that has had some highs and lows.
It's been a full weekend.
Yeah, and I don't mean highs and lows emotionally. I mean highs and lows temperature-wise. Because it started out very warm, and then it steadily cooled off, and now on the long weekend Monday, it's been like threatening to rain all day. It's been cool. It's been windy.
Yeah, it's been a very cloudy kind of day.
Yeah, a lot of people, at least locally, for this is what we in Canada call the Victoria Day long weekend.
Yes.
It's the middle of May as we speak. And this is what a lot of people use to kind of like demark the first real camping weekend of the summer.
Yeah, you don't do anything before May long, camping-wise or gardening-wise.
Yeah.
Usually.
And
right? Like, that's our marker.
Yeah, because it's less likely to snow this weekend, though it has.
It has.
And I feel a little bad for the people who might be out camping because it's been like, it started out really nice and then it got cool.
To be fair, most people come home on the Monday.
Yeah, but it was even cool last night.
Yeah,
so.
but the day you come home and have to pack up, like, that's not so bad if that day is cloudy.
And it's been nice the rest of the weekend.
It's been very nice the rest of the weekend.
Indeed.
It was lovely.
We got out, got to see some friends, got to play some board games.
Yeah.
Which is a thing we like to do.
It is I want to say it's a hobby of ours, but like to the point where it's like a passion of ours sometimes.
Sometimes.
We have a very good collection.
Yeah, and we got to use a little bit of it this weekend.
Yeah.
A couple times, actually.
Yes.
Which was nice.
We've played 3 board games.
In the past 3 days.
In the past 3 days, which is awesome for us.
Yeah. Hard to get friends over and hard to set aside time when you've got 2 little ones running around underfoot.
Yeah,
so.
But as I pointed out, our little ones are getting less little all the time.
It's true.
And that makes it a little easier to leave them to their own devices so that we can do our own thing. And in this case, our own thing is playing board games with our friends.
Yeah.
While their kids and our kids run around together playing.
It was a good time.
It's great.
Had a good weekend. Actually didn't read the book on the day we normally do.
Yeah, long weekend kind of threw our schedule a little.
Yeah, so we're actually coming on this one real fresh. Normally we have like a day or two to think about it before we sit down and discuss, but we read the book like this afternoon before recording, so we haven't had time to sit on it.
I sat down to read this morning before brunch, and then Scott grabbed the book and read it after brunch, and that was earlier today.
Yeah. So,
which is all good. It was enough time.
Now, that said, I don't know that we're going to have a lot to discuss this chapter. We'll get into that, but we will get into it. First off, with a brief recap of our previous chapter, chapter 17 of the novel, in which Dani meets the evil twins. It does not go well.
Yeah.
Then Elliot helps her find the safety deposit box that she has a key for.
Right.
She discovers a diary in it.
Yes.
A diary from a possibly great-great-grandmother.
We assume so.
Which details a meeting with Archer from 100 years ago, which did not go well for Archer from the sounds of it. Because Archer, it turns out, is a demon. And that is where we find Dani freaking out at the beginning of chapter 18 of The Frame-Up by Gwenda Bond. So yeah, Dani is like full of questions because
and like shaking as she like flips through the pages of this journal.
and kind of thinks to herself like, of course I find some answers only for it to lead to further questions.
Yep. Which is always the way.
Usually is
mystery.
The way. Yep. She does note that there are missing pages from the diary. It looks like after the last entry she read, there were several pages torn out, and then the rest is blank.
Yeah.
So she's like, there must be some additional diary, but obviously
It's gone.
it's gone. And then she tries to figure out what she's going to do with this information. The first thing she decides to do is call Mia and be like, look, I need to talk, I think, to your curator friend because she seems to know stuff about stuff. And number two, well, you're on your way to pick me up because I don't have a car because Elliot took my car. I'm going to go finish the painting.
Because that needs to get done because they are running out of time.
Yeah. So she heads down and quickly finishes off Archer's painting. And she does note, it's almost a little throwaway line, that she doesn't get the same skeevy feeling from it this time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel weird to go down and finish it.
Yeah, something's different about it right now.
Yeah, so something somewhere has changed.
Maybe because Archer's not in the painting right now.
Maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Hard to say.
Don't know how it works yet.
And again, last we saw, Archer was a physical manifested entity. So it's possible he can come and go, right?
Maybe.
Is what our kind of working theory is at the moment.
Right.
So it's possible he just wasn't home.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Mia does eventually come to pick her up, and the two of them begin making their way to the curator's place. Dani decides to bring Sunflower along this time, despite Mia once again saying, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, don't do it.
Because the curator might ask for your dog in payment. Brad also calls around this time.
Yeah.
And Dani just kind of like sends it straight to voicemail, because she's like, I do not have time to deal with this right. Like, Brad likes me, and I'm sure I can smooth it over later, but I do not have, like, I'm focused on figuring out what this is about. I don't have time to deal with that right now.
Dani doesn't have the spoons to do both of those things at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Her assumption is that he's calling to maybe be a little irate that she fobbed his request to come and something off on Elliot. And my initial knee-jerk reaction was something's wrong, because he was out of character when he called earlier and said, I need you to come immediately. Something's up. And then she did send Elliot, and then he called again. And so my initial thought was something's amiss, and Dani's ignoring it at the moment. But then I also thought if it was an emergency, Elliot would have called.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't know what to make of
Brad
that.
would call more than once.
And then Elliot would also call
yes,
if it was
exactly.
an emergency.
If it was that kind of emergency.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe my knee-jerk thought is wrong, that it's not necessarily an emergency, but still maybe urgent enough.
Maybe?
We'll have to wait and see.
I don't know. Yeah, like you said, we didn't answer the call. We haven't listened to the voicemail. We don't know exactly what's up.
Yeah, because again, Dani's focus is on getting more information about Archer.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
They get over to Roxy's place, and she's kind of expecting them, as is her weird way.
Her weird way.
And is like, I'm not super thrilled that you're here, but obviously you need to talk, so come on in.
And she brings the frame out.
Yeah.
Just to give it to them and like send them on their way. And Dani's like, I need to talk to you. And she goes, I'm going to regret it, because she has this weird fortune telling sense, but fine, come in.
Yeah. Sits them down and gets them some of the tea, and then implies after they've had the tea that they're safe to talk now.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. So it's clearly some sort of magical tea.
It's safe to talk, and they're ready to listen. There were two things she said that seemed just enough out of place that I'm like, what is she talking about? What does she know that we don't know?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the curator in a minute.
Oh, I'm sure we are.
And then Dani kind of pries her for information. Like, do you have any knowledge about demons? And the curator's like, kinda. So basically the way she lays it out is, yes, demons are real, though they might not necessarily be exactly one-to-one what we think of as like a biblical demon.
Right. She said, like, yes, demons are real, but we don't know if they're, like, tied to some manner of deity.
Yeah.
You know?
But they are definitely a thing. What we would describe as a demon exists.
Yes.
Archer is definitely one of them, which explains the darkness that she kind of sensed around Dani and the weirdness she was getting from kind of envisioning the painting.
Right.
She doesn't really have much information about what can be done about them, though.
Yeah.
The best she can say is it might be possible to banish or imprison one, but like destroying one,
like actually properly kill one,
hard to say.
Yeah. Her information is like more than Dani has, but not like totally extensive, you know?
Yeah. And to be fair, a lot of it is just confirming conjecture that we had last chapter.
Yeah.
And outright explaining some stuff to Dani that we kind of grokked from last chapter.
Okay. I was talking to Scott about this earlier. Annoyed isn't quite the right word for what I was feeling, but it's the closest word I've got. So maybe lightly annoyed? I don't know. That Dani needed things spelled out for her because we as readers have the exact same information that Dani does, right? We're in her head.
Mhm.
Everything she knows, we know. And she didn't put two and two together, even though it was, like, really obvious that the reader could put two and two together, you know?
Finally, the penny drops for her that Archer must have been trapped in the painting.
Right.
And we were like, we thought that was obvious from last chapter.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
It just seemed like a weird waste of storytelling space to say it blatantly when Dani really could have gotten there on her own.
On the other hand, Dani needs answers right now rather than a chance to dwell on it. And it comes across as a little incurious in a couple ways.
Right?
About a lot of stuff. So, yeah.
Just saying, it just seemed strange to me that it was presented in such a way that was obvious to the reader, but somehow it was not also obvious to the character.
I should also back up a little bit real quick to mention that Dani basically tells Mia, I think Archer's a demon, and Mia's like, okay.
Yeah.
Instantly is just like, nope, that tracks. I totally buy that. Yep.
Yeah, of course. I trust you. I believe you. Let's do something about it. Off we go.
The curator then kind of reveals the frame that she got because she got an identical frame to the Archer painting. And unsurprisingly, it's because it came from the same artist.
Yeah. So now Dani has the portrait
Of Mr. B.
of Lord B.
Who is also still trapped in the painting.
And Dani can feel it.
Yeah, like you can feel just the seething anger coming, like rolling off the painting.
I think if Dani didn't know what it was, I'm pretty sure she would still feel it.
Yeah.
And just not understand it.
Yeah.
And now she has context and she knows.
And the curator explains, like, this came into my possession years ago because, as is my power, I just had a sense that someday someone was going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
And now here it is, and it's yours so that you can use its frame. And Dani feels a little weird about it, but it does accept it. And the curator's then like, and obviously you can leave your dog at the door.
Which we all saw coming, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all saw that coming.
Now, Dani is not happy about the idea of leaving Sunflower, and Sunflower doesn't seem too happy about the idea of leaving Sunflower.
This was an interesting play
Yeah.
to me that Dani pulled here. Almost testing the curator
Yeah.
with it. Like, okay, well, like, my dog can stay here, but she has to choose to stay.
Yeah, my dog is a living creature, so unless you're saying that you're going to impose your will on my dog,
yeah, she has to choose.
she has to choose if she wants to stay or not.
And Dani, at that point, like, sat back, tried not to influence her dog,
Mm-hmm.
right? And, like, if she goes to the curator, fine, she can stay. And the curator goes so far as to, like, call the dog, bribe her with, like, cats and sunshine and treats. And Sunflower doesn't end up going for it.
No.
Gets like 3/4 of the way and's like, nope, and heads right back to Dani, like, with the whine that's like, can we go now?
Yeah.
I don't like it here.
And the curator accepts this in the moment, is like, okay, well played, and
Fair
fair enough.
Yeah.
But you owe me. And Dani's like, deal.
Payment must be made, and Dani's like, yes, agreed.
And she kind of implies there's a painting that I once loved that I've since lost that I would like to get my hands on, so maybe we'll talk about that. And Dani reads that as, oh, I can do a forgery, no problem. And I'm like, oh no, the curator's asking you to steal a painting.
I had the exact same thought. I'm like, no, she wants an original.
Yeah, she wants the original back.
She requires an art.
Yeah, so that's going to come back, I'm sure.
Probably.
Maybe a light sequel hook.
Maybe.
Yeah, because
Who knows?
Dani owes someone a painting, and she's going to call in that favor at some point. But that is basically the chapter. It's Mia and Dani hauling Mr. B's angry portrait
Lord B
out of the curator's house and making their way back.
into Mia's little car.
Yep.
I had a handful of questions spring up, just like light things that aren't super plot affecting, but things I wondered anyway.
Sure.
I'm curious if Mia and Roxy, the curator, are on this first name comfortable, friendly basis because Mia's not magical.
Could be. Mia also just clearly is good at making friends.
Or this was a secondary thought I had. Maybe what Mia needed was a friend.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
the
the curator's good at.
has provided, like, some friendship, which I think is very sweet.
Because the curator's a provider. That leads me around to a question. Is the curator human?
I would hope so.
We've now established that demons are a thing, and the curator seems to have more extensive power and magic at her disposal than I have a superpower like an X-Man, which seems to be more in line with what other people have. So I'm legit curious, is the curator more than human? I'm not suggesting she's also a demon, but is she not just a regular wizard, is my question.
I don't know. I don't know if like magical people have various strengths of magic.
I mean, it's possible. I'm sure not everybody can imprison someone's soul in a painting with their blood.
Yeah. Found by accident.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that. But yeah, no, it seems like she has like a suite of powers and abilities and knowledges, which, I mean, maybe due to the nature of her power, she's able to pick up a lot of information and stuff too, because she finds stuff that people needs.
Right.
That could include knowledge. But it seems like her powers are more extensive than what we've kind of been established as a standard wizard, which is why it came to mind.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
No, exactly. You're not wrong. There's a bit in the conversation where Dani mentions the book that is mentioned in the journal.
Yeah.
Right?
A book that the curator confirms does not exist anymore.
Somehow she knows that. But she says, like, don't speak French with your accent. She just stops her cold. And Dani's like...
A little affronted.
No, my French is very good. I can read French really well. And, like, so suddenly she's really self-conscious about her ability to speak French.
Yeah.
Which I think is really funny. I don't know what it has to do with anything, but it's just put Dani on the back foot all of a sudden.
A further thing that the curator is able to immediately confirm is that the missing pages of the diary do still exist and aren't far off.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're hidden elsewhere in the house?
Or if they're just in the area.
Maybe. Like, we don't know if those pages are freshly torn or not.
Because my initial thought was that Maria was leaving the diary for Dani to find, but she tore out some pages that she didn't want Dani to read.
Yeah.
Because Maria's a manipulator.
Of course.
She's purposefully leaving enough information for Dani to act the way she wants, but not enough information for Dani to make to get the full picture.
Yeah.
As usual, Dani's only getting some of the information need to know.
Right.
And so the rest of the pages Maria still has stashed somewhere else.
I wonder if the rest of the pages further explain...
context or something.
Yeah, or further explain what happened after the original portrait was created.
Yep.
Right? Because if a demon doesn't have a soul, how can that soul get trapped in a painting?
Yeah.
Right? Which goes back to my earlier theory that maybe he's not trapped in the painting, but he is somehow bound to it.
Yeah.
Which is why he can, be out and about.
Dani, even originally, her thought was that Archer's powers are for tormenting women, but then remembers something happened to the old security chief, who was a dude, and he had a heart attack, which is something that goes in with the power suite that Archer has.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, well, maybe actually he can just affect anybody.
Maybe.
Hard to say.
That might also be coincidence, but we don't know that for sure, do we? So
Dani was also warned off from looking in the mirror again. Even Sunflower was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, no, nobody's like, no,
like
no,
Mia,
no,
Sunflower, and the curator were all like, don't go there.
No.
Don't do that.
So the chapter ends, and I'm going to quote, and now she had 3 whole days left to figure out how Archer's existence worked and how to make the devil pay. And my first thought, my knee-jerk reaction to that was, oh, we're going to have a heist within a heist now. Because they still have to heist the painting, but then she obviously can't turn it over to Archer, so we're going to have to heist it again.
Well, they don't even still know exactly why Archer might need the painting or why he can't just get it or steal it himself. So there's something going on.
Yep.
But yeah, there could be a double bluff here, and she could swap the paintings and then not swap the painting so the real one gets sold and she gives the forgery to Archer.
Oh, that would be clever.
Like do a double bluff on it.
Or a double swap, right?
Yeah.
Steal
it and swap it and then steal and swap it again.
And then steal and swap it again. Maybe? I don't know.
I mean, maybe at the end of the day, Rose does get away with Archer's actual painting.
I'm not going to lie. At this point in time, that would make me laugh.
Oh.
I'd be like, ha, 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 ha.
Hard to say. But we'll wrap it up there for now.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of the stuff that was in this chapter was stuff we'd kind of already chewed on, so I don't feel like we need to really discuss it again. But maybe we'll learn a little bit more as we move into chapter 19. You'll want to read up on that in time for next week.
Yes.
In the meantime, as always, you can give us a little rating and review on your podcatcher of choice, because that helps us out.
And as always, we appreciate those very much.
And as always, you can reach out to us on social media.
And the options have not changed. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, and Blue Sky. Not in that order. We are at the read along on most of those.
And as always, you can also send us an email.
Yes, that address hasn't changed either. You can reach us at thereadalong@gmail.com.
And finally, as always, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Sunflower is still the very best girl.
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.